You guys are probably do it now. All right. Thanks, Mr. Brown. I'm a veteran. I'm a veteran out of the United States military. I served, a few years. I was legally discharged due to a pattern of misconduct, and under that illegal discharge, what I'm seeking right now is the evidence from the individuals inside of that train station that stated that any of those accusations occurred. Upon my discharge from there, I arrived here, and yeah, that's generally it. I mean, I served a little bit of time down in Texas or whatnot, Germany. At least on that discharge, went to Texas for a little bit. After that, came to Rochester, New York. Came into the Veterans Outreach Center after going down to the VA. Checked into the VA as I was told to always check in whatever major city you arrive to with the Veterans Association. Shortly after checking in with the VA, I noticed that there was a strange issue after coming to the VOC with regarding my cell phones. So reported that a bunch of times to Nina. I'm under the impression, as I stated earlier, I'm studying what we would call cybersecurity, and this is security of the internet domain and all things connected to the internet and other realms or whatnot. They don't necessarily have to be connected to the internet. And the basis theory line and approach of what we have here is that you guys have a very much open internet, and that open internet causes privacy issues. So now, some of the things that I've personally recorded is the lockouts of my email accounts. And being as such, those lockouts are, I don't know if you guys understand this theory or this perception or whatnot. Your internet has its own provider, whatever provider it is. Inside of your computer, you have applications. There's a network key for those applications that is provided by the internet provider that's ran under that internet. Whoever established the internet has sole propriety administrative rights over those applications. They can alter, change, or manipulate, control, or do anything outside of the ordinary to those applications. Also instituted onto your guys' devices is that there's a user and then there's an administrator. The administrator is, and this purpose would happen to be whoever is in control of the network at that time. So that administrator, they can manipulate, change, or alter any of the information within the computer as seen fit. I've gone through that type of situation or whatnot inside of my Google account. I'm not sure if your guys' internet is safe. I've had several bank accounts to include a New York State unemployment account that was manipulated and things of that nature. New York State unemployment bank account, which suffered through some financial fraud, things of that nature. I'm also under the strong impression that a lot of the other individuals that were exhibiting financial duress, homelessness, and all other sorts of types of psychological issues or problems are also elements of who've come down into the computer lab and have logged into their personal accounts. Some of the individuals that I've spoken to personally would be a elder gentleman who's completely lost his entire life, suffered through prevention of his veteran benefits and denial of his homelessness benefits, to where majority of his stuff was taken, his bank accounts were robbed, his email accounts were broken into, things of that nature. Also, the same with the gentleman Hank. He came in. He's not. I'm under the impression that Hank's not from Rochester. I'm pretty good friends with Hank. I haven't seen Hank in about a month and some change. Me and Hank sat down. He was going through some psychological problems or whatnot. Once Hank started explaining to me the beginning of the issues and where they started to occur, he said a lot of his issues started to happen after he came into the Veterans Outreach Center, into your guys' laboratory or whatnot. Logged into his email. After logging into his email, he said he started seeing, random stuff happening, money missing from accounts, closing of accounts. cloning of cell phones, things of that nature. He said that he didn't understand exactly what was happening. As he was explaining it to me, I was stating to Hank, well, I understand what provisions these lines fall into. I'm going to school for this kind of stuff just to acquire the degrees necessary, the certifications necessary to present that evidence within the federal district courts. Um, I suffered through a data breach in your guys' computer lab less than 4 years ago, in which federal evidence that it's going to be admitted into a federal case was completely destroyed or altered at the point of entry, sitting at the computer station downstairs. Now, following as such, I reported that to the program manager, who I'm under the impression is Nina or whatnot. After that report, instantly I must have became an issue or something of that sort. So following as such, not too long ago, I was actually contacted in reference to employment. Went downstairs, spoke with Miss Severin, who is the staffing agency liaison or whatnot. I'm under the impression of sent over to another defendant's employment place or whatnot. Now, I'm all about following the rules and stuff of that nature. I understand, the proprieties, the need of licenses, and all other such elements that are needed in order for me to perform that necessary work. As to it, like I said, I'm studying these types of things in school, so it's illegal for me to permit to certain types of actions. All right, and in my element of not permitting to those actions, and only just wanting to be properly compensated and things of that nature. What it looks like on paper is that there's a strong connection between perhaps a stalker and the conspiracy to defraud or manipulate or delete information. As to it as such, while over at that location, I noticed that a cell phone was intruded upon. I also noticed that internet capsule was intruded upon, and I also noticed that several other documents, images, or whatever else were manipulated in the performance while I was performing my duties as such or whatnot. So I'm not under the impression that I ever signed any electronic user agreements or anything of that sort. Now, moving forward, the 27th of this month, and before I step forward, I'll go ahead and I'll take a few steps backwards. So upon me coming into this building and, just sitting at the computer, normally when I come into the Veterans Outreach Center, I sit there, I'm completely quiet. I don't say much to people due to the fact that I don't want to be entertained in their wrongdoings. I understand that people have their own personal lives outside of here, that you do what you do. I've seen people engaging in things that I would not entertain myself into in that aspect. So I come here, I use the computer lab every so often. After I filed my lawsuits and I was working on my legal documentation, I suffered nothing but purely harassment, ridicule, and other sorts of ailments the entirety of the time while I would come into the Veterans Outreach Center. Following as such, there's a strange proportion of the radio harassment through electronic means. Now, what radio harassment through electronic means is that someone illegally broadcasts what would seem to be radio waves through an electronic means and purported through harassment onto someone. Now, I reported those elements to the program leader downstairs. I'm not sure if the program leader downstairs reported that to the proper channels or the proper authorities of which. Following as such, with all that being said, moving forward, I coming down into your guys' Pearson Center. Mm-hmm. For the longest, I didn't know you guys had a Pearson Center. I didn't have any issues coming into the Veterans Outreach Center. Why? Because I sat there, I reported my paperwork, I left the building. I didn't say too much to anyone. So once I started going to Hank told me, come down to the Pearson Center. Went down to the Pearson Center. All right. Prior to going to the Pearson Center, within your guys' cell phone booth, I don't know if you guys are familiar with wire fraud and the elements of wire fraud through telephonic means. So there's a strange, stringent element in which one would try to impersonate a federal employee, and that federal employee being an employee of the National Labor Relations Board or any of the other agencies in which I'm contacting or submitting legal documentation to, or in reference to employment, trying to contact my employers, or trying to file certain documentation in the element of succession through agency proceedings or succession through federal proceedings, that would be the cause and effect of the wire fraud and the interference in the legal proceeding, and the interference to deter, alter, or change or manipulate the outcome of the agency decision. Those are some of the things that I've also reported to the program manager downstairs. Amidst all these reports or whatnot, I came in there not too long ago, shortly before the 27th of the month, and what I reported to Nina was that I was under the impression that the Pearson Center was a part of the non-for-profit organization here, and that the Pearson Center, in fact, was a place for the veterans of, I believe, the Richards House and other veterans to come and use the services of the Pearson Center in a respectful tone and manner. So now, of the recordings that I posted onto the internet and of the report that I made onto Nina, I asked Nina kindly, I said, is there any way that you can put me in contact with who would be in charge of the Pearson Center? Why? Because I personally know of veterans are not only being targeted to look like crack cocaine drug users. I mean, we see the majority of veterans come in and out the building, and they come in, they're healthy, they're pretty stocky upon leaving the building. They're, within a matter of a few weeks, they're strung out on crack cocaine, right?
No,
I mean,
not right, but
well, I guess I can account for 7 or 8 veterans that I've seen. 4 of those veterans are dead now. So following as such, I made that report on Nina to speak with whomever might be in charge of things, due to the fact that I was consistently seeing a strange approach of the employees through the Pearson Center, and those employees taking a very, very aggressive manner towards the Pearson Center residents. And the Pearson Center residents only come in there to either A, take a shower, B, use the pool table, C, perhaps want to watch a movie or play a video game, D, performance of laundry, E,
just be.
Just go in there and just valiantly talk amongst one another. They had some programs or whatnot in which there was a men's group and things of that nature. So as far as following all of that and such, I spoke with Nina and I asked, licenses and things of that nature, because I have unqualified individuals trying to tell me that there is perhaps some sort of psychological issue with every veteran that comes into that center, because the other guy was kicked out simply for sitting there eating his food. He was sitting there eating his food, and the next thing you know, there was a ton of documentation written upon him. And in my case, perhaps an instance, now we'll move forward along to my case. And then we'll talk furthermore about the other gentleman or whatnot and the other things that I reported. So in my case situation scenario, I have a torn Achilles tendon. I suffered through a torn Achilles tendon in February of 2022, right? Or February 2024, excuse me. Went down to the VA, tried to gain as much medical attention as I could. I'm still under the impression that my foot still might be broken. I guess I'll assess that here in the near future. But moving forward, I was coming down to the Pearson Center literally to just I was suffering through homelessness. The last place that I was living in, I was evicted from. I was sent over to one of your guys' Salvation Army services, in which I was robbed for my money or whatnot. Ended up being told that the program was not established tenure for us to sit in there for no longer than what she felt as though people should sit in there for. Meanwhile, on the other hand, some of those guys have been there 4 or 5 years, but we're not going to talk too much into that aspect or whatnot. So moving forward, in the Pearson Center, like I said, I'm seeing all the different. I'm not familiar with someone who's coming into the Pearson Center that's not a resident of the United States or excuse, that's not a resident of New York State, but that they're coming in there, and what they're doing is they're trying to use the shower services, and that veteran being sexually harassed, that veteran being pretty much almost to the point of being assaulted by another staff member.
Who is a veteran?
He's a Hispanic gentleman. Like I said, I posted the video upon electronic means. And the reason why I posted that video upon the electronic means, number one, it's my constitutional right and my freedom of expression through any source and outlet to where I can post whatever it is to where I might feel in that safety matter is I felt unsafe for myself and I felt unsafe for the veteran. So I took the recording and I posted it onto the internet. There's nothing illegal about that. Now, if I was to state a defamatory statement of that human being or of the performance of that human being, the only defamatory thing that I saw was of a employee of this unit in the Pearson Center chasing a veteran through the building and then placing his personal area in the veteran's face and yelling at the veteran and trying to get the veteran to antagonize the veteran, to write documentation on the veteran in order for the veteran to not be able to come into that building. So following as such, I also know that I have in my own personal wallet. Now, I have yet to obtain or acquire the information, but I'm sure hoping that they did not try to manipulate any funds out of the bank accounts in my own personal wallet. Those bank accounts and those bank cards are follies. They're there for a purpose, all right? And also following as such is the case situation with the other veteran. He's a veteran. He's an employee of the Veterans Outreach Center. He actually works for you guys. He's a young African-American man. And now there was another veteran that was in there. And this veteran he comes in normally over the evenings. Very good friend of the family's, things of that nature. And he just wanted to perform his laundry. He normally, when I was going to the Pearson Center, he would come in about 6:30, 7 o'clock, try to toss his laundry into the never had any issues the entire time that he was coming in. But then a certain woman started working for you guys through the Pearson Center. And I'm not sure if this woman is stalking me due to her family. I'm not sure if that's occurring or if it's not occurring. I mean, I could be completely oblivious and I could have this psychological problem. But so at the moment she starts working, well, the Veterans Outreach Center, Pearson Center, we can no longer use the kitchen inside of the Veterans Outreach.
That was my call.
All right, and we're not understanding. No, there's not an issue there. We don't understand why we can't use the kitchen inside of the Veterans Outreach Center. We were always allowed to use that as such until she reported a dish in the sink. Upon that report of the dish in the sink, that she left there, amongst other dishes that she would leave there. I placed the dish in the sink after I washed it due to the fact that the dish rack was no longer there. The veterans are not performing anything outside of the ordinary except for coming into the Pearson Center, perhaps to talk to other veterans, to have common ground amongst other veterans, to talk to like-minded individuals. Some of those veterans are not veterans. I'm not going to furthermore state on that point. But at the end of the day, that veteran that worked for the Veterans Outreach Center, that sat there and never had any issues in the performance of his laundry, to be yelled at, to be attacked, to be assaulted, to have the police have to come to the Veterans Outreach Pearson Center. All right, so I recorded that incident. Why? Because I'm very familiar with the laws and the relations of the laws throughout the Rochester, New York area. The moment that they started to instigate to try to get that veteran employee, because they didn't know that he was an employee at the Veterans Outreach Center. They thought he was just a veteran off the streets. So they treated him in particular as they treat every other veteran. And as every other veteran is treated, that's the element of what you guys see online. It's due to safety measures. Why? Because veterans, they have already sacrificed their lives.
Yes.
They've already given what it takes in order for everyone else's safety, in order for us to have these certain things here, in order for us to have these freedoms throughout the United States of America and other regions in association with any Department of Defense and the Veterans Affairs. Now, I've reported these types of things to the Inspector General. I'm becoming very familiar with Title 38, and that's the veterans benefits and things of that nature. And now I know that this program might not directly receive, as you stated earlier, monetary value from the Department of Defense, but I know that there are grants that are established through the Department of Defense and the Secretary of Defense for this program and establishment to run properly. And this program and establishment is built for the veterans. Without the veterans in the area, there's no program and establishment.
100%.
Now I can go ahead and I can count about 12 or 15 other veterans at another veteran site, Eagle House Landing. I'm under the impression that 12 or 15 of those veterans are strung off of crack cocaine. The housing that's supposed to be provided for veterans, in fact, that housing is supposed to be, number one, safe. Number two, drug-free under Title 38. Number three, it's supposed to have well-lit plumbing. These are some of the things and some of the elements of which we forbade. I'm just being an activist for myself and for the other veterans. Why? Because I'm tired of seeing the veterans who have sacrificed their lives being murdered out in these streets. Furthermore, as far as taking down any postings or anything of that sort, I'm going to be quite frank and quite honest. Within a few days or a month or whatnot, your organization is going to be served with documentation to adjoin them to a current lawsuit. And this is not a threat, a legal threat, or anything of that sort. No, it's not. It's just the legal recourse for the current lawsuit due to the fact that I was instructed from this location to go over there to that location, this location being the staffing agency or whatever it acted as in its relation to what, if you look at Federal Rule of Civil Procedure, Rule number 19, the courts cannot grant the proper relief unless all parties are adjoined to the matter. I cannot proceed properly without adjoining the other parties to the matter. So with that being said, I'm not threatening you guys with lawsuits or anything of that sort. Okay. That's not my intention. Honestly, my intention is to see the rest of these veterans become stable human beings as they are. Okay. Veterans should not be losing all of their storage units. They should not be losing their vehicles. They should not have unemployment accounts robbed. They should not be submitted to wire fraud, computer fraud, theft, and all those other things. They should not be illegally monitored and illegally followed. They should not be targeted for crack cocaine. They should not be denied veterans benefits. Homeless veterans, a lot of their start of their program starts here. They should be opted the same amount of benefits as every other veteran. Not a veteran should be denied any benefits based upon characteristics, traits, or anything of that sort. That just shouldn't happen. As far as the Pearson Center goes, to be quite honest, I'm gonna state it as such. The criminal background checks, the qualifications, things of that nature. Are they qualified in order to, according to the DOD, provide those elements for veterans? Because there's a certain qualification standard that is needed in order to provide those elements for the veterans. It's not nothing that veterans are doing, because the veterans are just showing up, but they're being targeted by the employees. And I believe that's perfectly shown through those videos. That's pretty much it. If you guys don't want me to come inside of the building, I'll just go into the gym and enjoy my gym atmosphere. I'm working out, I'm by myself. I can't be bothering nobody. Mm-hmm.
If I didn't want you in the building, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Okay.
Because like I said when I first approached you, and I appreciate you going through everything, I very much do respect you. You've been nothing but kind. Anytime I've seen you, we've had some, like you said, I don't even remember your name, but definitely when I've been in the fitness center, just back and forth. We don't want anybody out there. The reason why we don't want videos posted like that has nothing to do for me when it comes to the staff, embarrassment, whatever, is I don't want veterans coming in there feeling like they're going to be videotaped. I don't want veterans to come in and feel like they're going to be blasted on the internet.
Listen, at this point, moving forward, I'll come down to the Veterans Outreach Center to take a shower and use the gym.
But
My good friend was murdered, and I know that it's in connection with here. I got to take off because I got to be to the law library at 10 o'clock.
okay,
All right. Yeah, that's just it. All
I'm
right.
gonna have to talk to my leader about it because it's coming directly from them.
All right.